If your child is regularly angry, distressed, melting down or tantruming, you're not alone. The truth is, we have a pretty complicated world that our kids are trying to navigate, and en masse, they're really struggling to manage. We can think of our children's capacity to cope as being like liquid in a cup. When they're too full, they will start to overflow. If your child is overflowing a lot, it's because the demand that's being placed on them from the world, from whatever is going on in your home or at school or with their friends, is larger than the size of their cups. This holds true whether your child is neurodivergent or neurotypical, the principle is the same. So this gives us three main ways that we can support our children if they're overflowing. First, we can help them to reduce the amount of demand that's coming in. Second, we can help them to empty out what's already in there. And third, we can help them to expand the size of their cup. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do each of these step by step with examples. And if you can do all of them, you're well on your way to supporting your child to be more self-regulated more of the time. So the first is, how do we pour less in? How do we make sure that there's less stimulation coming to our overwhelmed child? Whenever I start to work with a family whose child is having trouble regulating their emotions, this is one of the first things I check, because I can almost guarantee that if they're overwhelmed, there's too much packed into their life. There's so much pressure on us to give our children every kind of experience and to completely fill their days. We sometimes forget how much time they need for other things. They need time in nature, time to play, unstructured time to stare at walls, time to be bored and then to find something to do, time to read, time to talk with us, time to chat and laugh, time to notice what patterns there are in the wood grain above their beds, time to fight with their siblings and then figure out how to make up again, time to get enough sleep. Modern children are not getting this time. We're so focused on their ballet classes and after-school extension programs that we forget that these white spaces are essential to giving our children the time and experiences they need to process challenging emotions. If their life is overscheduled and every spare moment is filled with screens, they are not going to have space to process their emotions and work through challenges. Processing emotion takes a lot of time. Think of it a little bit like a computer that's done a lot of processing. It takes some time to update the system and process all of the information that's been thrown at it. So have a look, really have a look at your child's calendar and see, is there one thing that you could remove from their week, or even better, from each day? The principle of pouring less in also applies in the heat of the moment when a child is throwing a tantrum or having an angry outburst or meltdown. If they are there in that position, it's because they have way more coming in that moment than their nervous system is able to process. They're completely overloaded and their nervous system has flicked the circuit breaker and shut them down. So in moments like that, we also have to consider how to shut down and reduce the amount of stimulation coming in. This is especially true for children with autism or sensory processing challenges or ADHD. If their nervous system reaches capacity, they're going to shut down. They can't process anymore. So what this means is this is not the time for lots of talking.
I think it's time we had a talk about all these angry outbursts. It's having a really big impact on the whole family.
Or a lecture.
It's not okay to speak to me that way. This is not appropriate language for...
Or to tell them to calm down.
You really need to calm down.
Or to coach them on new strategies.
You need to do some rocket breathing, like this.
Or ask them lots of questions.
Why are you so angry? Tell me what's wrong.
Or to get worked up ourselves.
Can everybody please chill out?
In these moments, if we're speaking lots and adding a lot of information, we're not just continuing to add to an overflowing cup, we're potentially adding fuel to an already ignited child. When they are overflowing, they need space and quiet and calm. They need time to process. And what they need from us is non-judgmental, warm presence to process what they already have going on. The second way we can help our child is to create more space when they're already overflowing. We have very high expectations for our children, that they should be able to calm themselves on their own, independently, from quite an early age, that they should be able to learn to process all of their emotions without us, and they shouldn't need us to support them. We often think that the goal here is complete independence, that if we've done our job right, they should be able to walk off into the sunset with a backpack and barely a backward glance to bravely face whatever the world throws at them. But this image deeply misunderstands developmental psychology and how the human nervous system actually evolved. We evolved to regulate together. The world is a pretty complex place, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that can regulate our emotions, doesn't fully develop until our mid-20s. So it's unsurprising that our children sometimes struggle. And let's be honest for a moment, even as adults, don't we struggle sometimes? I know I do. And when you're struggling, you might notice that you reach out to others for support. Think how quickly you want to get home to your spouse after a tricky interaction with your boss, or how much you want to speak to a friend after you've had a fight with someone. It is a myth that we regulate alone. Humans seek out each other when we're triggered and distressed because this is how we're designed to soothe ourselves. Calling a friend, talking to your partner, ringing your mum, or even posting on Facebook or searching up a YouTube video. That might be why you're here right now. And this is because our brains were actually designed to co-regulate. This is just a fancy word for helping each other to manage our big emotions by staying calm, connected, supportive of each other. Over time, when we do this regularly with our children, helping them and supporting them to calm themselves, they start to internalize this process. They'll start to hear your voice in their heads, start to find ways to calm their own nervous system, start to tell themselves they'll be okay, start to think of the strategies that you might have suggested. But they won't get that from watching breathing techniques alone in their room on their tablets. They'll get it by having your warm, loving presence thousands of times as their nervous system slowly returns to baseline. So how do we support our child to empty their cups each day so that this overflow doesn't happen so much? One really amazing way is learning to listen to your child with empathy. So make this a routine and a regular part of your day. Have at least one time each day where you hang out with your child for at least 10 minutes and they can have your full attention. Let them talk about whatever is up for them, whatever is on the tip of their emotional iceberg, and just listen. Your job is not to solve, to fix, or to teach them anything in that moment, just to listen and be there with your full presence. Our children want to be heard, they want to be understood, they want to know that we care, and when we offer them our empathic presence, we're really helping them to process what's in their cup, giving them much more space to cope with the demands of tomorrow. The third amazing thing we can do to help our children to self-regulate is to help them to expand the size of their cup. Listening to your child regularly, making space for hearing them, not only helps to empty what's already in their cup, but it also helps to model really amazing ways to manage their emotions, because it's by learning to notice their feelings and needs that children learn one of the main developmental tasks of childhood: how to be present with themselves, how to notice and express what they need, and therefore gaining some degree of mastery over their emotional worlds. So what can we do to speed all of this up a bit and help them to grow the size of their cup? We can do this by normalizing and talking about feelings and needs. Notice how often we resort to describing other people and celebrities, friends, situations in quite judgmental terms. Instead, we can start to make it an important part of our daily language to name and share feelings and needs. I'm feeling this. I'm needing this. I wonder what you're feeling and needing. I wonder if this person is feeling and needing. Ask your child what they think a character might need when you're watching TV or reading books together. Pause occasionally and ask, what do you think this character is feeling? I'm wondering if they're feeling this. What do you think? What do you think they might need right now? Commit to working through family challenges, just as a routine part of life. Even if it's just 5 minutes. What are you all feeling about this? What do you need? Is there a solution that could work for everyone? If this is new to you, start out with really simple problems that aren't highly charged. Things like, what movie are you going to watch? What flavour of ice cream would you buy? Where would you like to go for a walk? Giving children lots of practice expressing what they're feeling and needing, and hearing what others are feeling and needing, can really help with their emotional literacy. And also to give them the sense that we can work through problems, we can find solutions that work for everyone. This kind of emotional literacy is really important for emotional regulation. It's how we're able to communicate and share what we're feeling with other people, and it's something that many of us adults really struggle with. If all of this feelings and needs language is quite new to you, and let's be honest, it is for most of us, we're not taught this, you can download our feelings and needs wall chart from the description below to help you figure out what might be going on for your child. The third amazing thing that you can do to support your child's cup to grow is through modelling your own emotion regulation. Our children learn so much through watching us regulate our own emotions, to see how we do it, to watch what we do when we get activated. In fact, this is actually the number one thing you can do to support your child with their big emotions. Learn to care for your own. This is so important that I've made a whole video about it that you can watch right here.